What's going on, friends? Logan Myerz here, back for Cinephellas.com to talk about another Netflix film. I'm talking about the horror comedy The Babysitter, directed by Mick G. Mick G? Is that like an Irish R&B singer like McLovin?
What kind of a stupid name is that, Fogel? What, are you trying to be an Irish R&B singer?
So the premise of The Babysitter, we see a 12-year-old kid named Cole, played by Judah Lewis. He's pretty much a geek. Nobody likes him. He gets his ass kicked a lot at school and by this local group of bullies, and he doesn't really have a lot of friends, but he does have one really good friend, his babysitter, Samara Weaving. She plays the babysitter. And like most kids, you know, they have babysitters when they're younger, people they can hang out with when their parents are gone. So in this case, you know, she's attractive, probably in her mid-20s, and she was fantastic in this movie. She's been in some other stuff. She was in Ash vs. Evil Dead. And actually today they announced that she was cast in the new film with Daniel Radcliffe, Harry Potter himself, and another horror comedy coming out. So really great actress, and she's really, really great in this movie as the babysitter B. So Cole's parents, played by Leslie Bibb and Kim Marino. I love Kim Marino. Huge fan of Veronica Mars. He was in this. He wasn't as comedic as he usually is, or dirty, but he plays the father of young Cole. So it was good to see him on the big screen again. Cole's at home and his babysitter B comes over, and you see really how their relationship is. They really have a really tight-knit bond. The babysitter is very likable. She's down to earth. She's funny. She's into geeky stuff and movie quotes and things like that. So her and Cole really hit it off, and they have a blast together. You know, when the parents are there, she's watching over him. They're like dancing to music and throwing food at each other. She lets him drink some alcohol. So they just have a really good time, and you can see this chemistry that they have with one another, that you can see they're really good friends. She's not there just for the job to get some money, but she actually enjoys hanging out with young Cole and sees a lot of good in him. You know, he has a really big heart. He's a smart kid, and, you know, together they just have a really good time. And, you know, the first act of the movie, you can see that they have a great relationship, but, you know, that all changes from the second to the third act when you actually see what B's up to and what she's a part of. What's really great about this film, you see the whole story through the eyes of young Cole, you know, his surroundings with the bullies, you know, kids at school, his parents, and, you know, having B come over and what he's going through as a young kid as he's changing, you know, being a 12-year-old hitting puberty and things like that, and he having this attractive babysitter come over to watch him, and can really relate to that, being younger, you know, at that age, and just trying to find herself and trying to fit in with everybody and make friends, you know. And it's cool to have an older person that's been around the block show him the ropes and see what's really good in Cole. And he has a lot of great attributes. So with B babysitting Cole and putting him to bed, it sounds like he's a baby, but he's not, but him going to bed at night, like 10 o'clock, you know, he wakes up and he actually sees what's going down at his house. He kind of peeks downstairs and sees B and a group of her friends. We have all the horror cliches here. We have like their cheerleader, the really crazy buff guy with a great physique, and his shirt was off for some odd reason. We had the funny black guy and the nerd, you know, all the cliches in horror movies that they're really poking fun at in this movie. And he sees really what they're up to, and it just turns into like a gore fest. Really opens up the rest of the film as to what B is doing. Essentially, they're a cult, and they're wanting to sacrifice young Cole for this cult, and it really sets up the rest of the film, which caught me off guard because I didn't know much about this film. I didn't read too much into it. I just saw it on Netflix, and I watched it and just really enjoyed it, and did not expect the babysitter being part of a cult and sacrificing people and killing people, innocent people. So there's a sequence where cops show up and they just kill them and like cutting their throats, and there's just blood and gore everywhere, and it was just fantastic. And it, like I said, caught me off guard, and I'm like, holy shit, this is really good. So with Cole, you know, really encountering what this cult is up to and seeing them murder people, you know, he wants to do the best he can to get out of there, tying them up, and he's just kind of looking around the room at all these different personalities, and, you know, that same horror movie situation we've seen over and over again. And he kind of cracks some jokes about not why he's tied up and being held hostage or about the cult, but really, why is there a guy with a shirt off? That was really funny. There's a lot of great comedy in this. And this goes until the end of the movie is really Cole trying to escape from these people. He needs to get to safety and making sure that these people are either A, murdered or put away for good, because what they're doing is not right. And up until the end of the movie, it was really a really fantastic film, especially for Netflix. And I give a lot of kudos to Mick G for, you know, building the suspense and throwing in humor on top of that, and a lot of great one-liners and comedy into this, and also playing homage to a lot of great horror films, you know, with all the horror movie trope, the cliche characters, but, you know, really poking fun at those movies at the same time, which I thought was very unique. With this film, you know, just building this relationship between a young kid and his babysitter, and her being, you know, attractive, and them having a really great friendship. In ways, Bee was like the Phoebe Cates of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. There's a particular scene with a pool, and it reminded me of Phoebe Cates in Fast Times where she's getting out of the pool. One of the most iconic 80s scenes, in my opinion, so that's cool. They played homage to that. Overall, with a premise like this, you don't really expect a babysitter, you know, that's so kind-hearted, that's so funny, that's so down to earth, to really be part of a cult and sacrifice people and kill people. And, you know, that was something that caught me off guard, but I also really enjoyed that. You know, McG did a pretty excellent job directing this film. There's a lot of great camera shots in this, the cinematography. It reminded me of a lot of films, you know, in the 80s and 90s that he threw in there, and this is probably one of his better films that he's put out in some time. Judah Lewis, you know, playing Cole, and Samara Weaving playing Bee, her character doing a complete 180, turning into a villain. It was really excellent, and a job well done by her. Other performances in this movie was a group of friends. You know, Bella Thorne was good as the cliche high school cheerleader, and Andrew Bachelor playing John. He was like the funny black guy. He was hilarious. He had a lot of great comedic scenes in this film. But overall, the cast was phenomenal. I really enjoyed Cole's character, and, you know, his relationship with his babysitter. And overall, you know, just a really cool premise. Definitely good for Netflix. It's one of those films, if you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. If you're in for horror, if you're in for gore, if you're just in for comedy, this is a good movie, and this is a good time to sit at home with some popcorn with your friends or your loved ones and just sit back, relax, and enjoy some blood. I'm giving The Babysitter a 4 out of 5 hair pieces. So what did you guys think of The Babysitter on Netflix? Did you like the performance by Samara Weaving? Are you a fan of hers? Are you a fan of McG's? It's really great to see him actually put out a good movie for once. Been a long time. What are your overall thoughts? What did you like about The Babysitter? What didn't you like about it? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to hit subscribe. This is Logan Myerz, the local Chicago babysitter. Until next time, cheers!